room was silent except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. On the polished mahogany desk sat two folders, each containing the resumes of two exceptional candidates. Both had aced every test, every interview, and every challenge thrown their way. But for Ethan Caldwell, billionaire CEO of Caldwell Enterprises, this wasn't just about qualifications, it was about character. Ethan leaned back in his leather chair, his sharp blue eyes fixed on the names, Alex Mercer and Daniel Hayes. Alex was brilliant but ruthless, a man who climbed the corporate ladder with cold precision. Daniel, on the other hand, was quieter, kinder, and known for his unwavering empathy. Both were outstanding, but only one could become the next manager of Caldwell Enterprises. As the end-of-year company party approached, Ethan made a bold decision. He wouldn't test them with another exam or challenge. Instead, he devised a scenario so real, so raw, it would expose their true selves. Disguised as a homeless man, he would step into their world to see how they treated someone invisible, someone forgotten. What Ethan uncovered that night would not only shock everyone at the party, but also change the course of his company forever. Ethan Caldwell wasn't a man who made decisions lightly. He had built his empire from the ground up, and he knew leadership wasn't just about intelligence or ambition, it was about heart. He needed someone who could inspire, someone who could lead with compassion, not just authority. Sitting in his penthouse office, the city skyline glittering in the background, Ethan solidified his plan. To truly see who they are, he muttered, I need to see how they treat someone who has nothing to give. It was daring, it was risky, but it was perfect. He would transform himself into a homeless man and attend the company's annual end-of-year party. The setting was ideal. A room full of people celebrating their success, surrounded by luxury, yet blind to the struggles of the world outside. Ethan poured hours into perfecting his disguise. He swapped tailored suits for tattered, mismatched clothes. He smeared dirt on his hands and face, matted his hair, and practiced walking with a slight limp to complete the illusion. To make the story convincing, he crafted a backstory, a man who had lost everything in the recession and now struggled to survive on the streets. When Ethan looked in the mirror, he barely recognized the reflection. Gone was the billionaire CEO. Staring back at him was a man the world had forgotten. The night of the party arrived, and Ethan's heart raced as he neared the grand ballroom. The sound of laughter and clinking glasses echoed through the ornate doors. He paused, his hands trembling slightly. This wasn't just a test for Alex and Daniel, it was a test of humanity itself. With a final glance at his reflection, Ethan pushed open the doors and stepped into the unknown. The ballroom was a dazzling display of opulence. Crystal chandeliers bathed the room in a golden glow, their light shimmering off the polished marble floors. In the corner, a string quartet played a soft, elegant melody, while waiters in crisp uniforms glided through the crowd with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Laughter and chatter filled the air as employees mingled, their faces glowing with pride after another successful year. In one corner, Alex Mercer stood, effortlessly commanding attention. His sharp suit and confident posture made him the center of the conversation. With a glass of whiskey in hand, he gestured animatedly, his voice booming over the hum of the party. You have to be ruthless in this industry, he declared with a smug grin. Sentimentality? That's for the weak. Across the room, Daniel Hayes lingered quietly near the buffet table. He was dressed neatly, his demeanor warm and approachable. He leaned in as a junior employee confided in him about her struggles balancing work and family. You're doing great, Daniel said with a reassuring smile. Don't be too hard on yourself. We're all human. The contrast between the two men was striking, but the real test was just about to begin. The ballroom doors creaked open and the room fell into a sudden hush. A disheveled figure shuffled inside. His clothes were tattered and stained, his face smudged with dirt, his eyes wide with desperation. It was Ethan Caldwell, but no one recognized him. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Who let him in? Someone muttered. This is a private event. Ethan's heart raced as he hesitated just inside the door, his nerves threatening to unravel. The test had begun. Alex Mercer's sharp gaze locked onto the stranger, his expression instantly darkening. His lip curled in disdain as he set his whiskey glass down with an audible clink. What the hell is this? He muttered under his breath, his tone laced with irritation. Without a moment's pause, Alex strode across the room, his polished shoes clicking against the marble floor. The crowd instinctively parted, sensing the confrontation about to unfold. Alex stopped a few feet away, towering over the ragged figure with an air of authority. "Excuse me," Alex said, his voice ice cold. "Do you have any idea where you are? This is a private event for Caldwell Enterprises. You don't belong here." Ethan, still playing his role, looked up at Alex with pleading eyes. I'm sorry, sir," he stammered, his voice trembling. I haven't eaten in days. I thought maybe there'd be some leftovers." Alex's face twisted in anger. "Leftovers?" He spat, his voice rising. "This isn't a soup kitchen. You're embarrassing yourself and everyone here." The room went silent, all eyes locked on the unfolding scene. Alex turned sharply to a nearby waiter, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "Get security, now." The waiter hesitated, casting a fleeting glance at the homeless man with a spark of pity, but Alex's sharp glare sent him scurrying off. Moments later, 2 burly security guards appeared, their faces set in stern, professional expressions. "Get him out of here," Alex commanded, pointing decisively at Ethan. "And make sure he doesn't come back. This is a high-profile event, not a charity case." The guards moved in, each grabbing one of Ethan's arms. He didn't resist, allowing them to drag him toward the exit. As they passed Alex, Ethan lifted his head, locking eyes with him one final time. "Please," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I just wanted a little kindness." Alex scoffed, brushing an invisible speck of dust from his suit sleeve. "Kindness doesn't pay the bills," he retorted, his tone icy. "Now get him out of my sight." The room was deathly silent, the weight of the moment pressing down on everyone as the guards hauled the homeless man toward the door. Alex turned back to his colleagues, forcing out a laugh. "Can you believe that? Some people have no shame." But as the ballroom doors swung shut behind Ethan, an uncomfortable tension lingered. The coldness of Alex's response left a bitter taste in the air, though no one dared to say a word. Daniel Hayes had been standing near the buffet table, chatting quietly with a group of colleagues when the commotion drew his attention. He turned, just in time to see the guards dragging the disheveled man toward the exit. Alex's harsh words echoed across the room, and Daniel felt his stomach twist. Without hesitation, he excused himself and made his way toward the scene. "Wait," Daniel called out, his voice calm yet commanding. The guards paused mid-step, glancing at him with uncertainty. Daniel approached, his expression softening as he took in the man's torn clothes and tired, pleading eyes. "Are you okay?" Daniel asked gently, crouching slightly to meet the man's gaze. His tone was filled with genuine concern. "I'm so sorry about this. You shouldn't have been treated that way." Ethan, still in character, stared at Daniel, his surprise evident. Gratitude flickered in his weary expression. I didn't mean to cause trouble," he stammered, his voice shaky. "I just wanted something to eat." Daniel's heart clenched at the man's words. He straightened, turning to the guards. "Let him go, please. He's not a threat." The guards hesitated, exchanging uncertain glances, but Daniel's quiet authority was persuasive. They released their grip, and Ethan rubbed his arms, wincing slightly where their hands had been. "I'm really sorry about what just happened," Daniel said again, his voice heavy with sincerity. "No one should be treated like that, especially when all they're doing is asking for help." Daniel glanced toward the buffet table, an idea forming. He looked back at Ethan with a kind smile. "Come with me," he said, placing a reassuring hand on the man's shoulder. "Let's get you something to eat." The crowd remained frozen, their gazes fixed on Daniel as he led the homeless man to the buffet table. Without hesitation, Daniel grabbed a plate and began filling it with food. Generous portions of roast beef, creamy mashed potatoes, fresh bread, and a slice of pie. He handed the plate to Ethan, adding a glass of water to the offering. "Here," Daniel said warmly, his voice filled with genuine kindness. "Take as much as you need. And if you're still hungry later, just let me know." Ethan accepted the plate with trembling hands, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice cracking. "You have no idea what this means to me." But Daniel wasn't done. He noticed the man's torn clothes, the way he shivered slightly in the cool air of the ballroom. "Wait here," he said softly. "I'll be right back." Daniel hurried over to the coat check, returning moments later with his own jacket, a simple but warm blazer. Without a second thought, he draped it over Ethan's shoulders. This should help. This should help. he said gently. "And if you want, we can figure out a way to get you cleaned up and maybe find a place to rest. You've been through enough tonight." Ethan looked up at Daniel, his voice shaking as he said, You're too kind. Most people won't even look at me, let alone help me." Daniel shook his head, his expression soft but resolute. "Everyone deserves kindness," he said quietly. "No matter who they are or where they've been, life is already hard enough." For a moment, the two men stood in silence, the weight of the moment pressing down on the room. Then Daniel motioned to a quieter corner of the ballroom. "Come on," he said with a reassuring smile. "Let's sit down. You don't have to go through this alone." As they walked, Ethan began to share his story. He spoke of losing his job, his home, and eventually his hope. His voice was heavy with emotion, each word carrying the pain of a man pushed to the brink. Daniel listened intently, his face etched with empathy. "I don't know how I'll ever get back on my feet," Ethan said, barely above a whisper. "But meeting someone like you, it gives me hope. Just a little, but enough." Daniel placed a comforting hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You're stronger than you realize," he said, his voice steady and sincere. "And you're not alone. If there's anything else I can do to help, you just say the word." The once buzzing room had fallen eerily silent. The crowd, initially fixated on the drama, now watched with a mix of admiration and quiet awe. Daniel's compassion had cut through the tension, a sharp contrast to Alex's earlier cruelty. Ethan, still holding his plate, slowly stood up. His movements became deliberate, his posture shifting. With a calm but purposeful motion, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small remote. He pressed a button, silencing the string quartet that had been playing softly in the background. All eyes turned toward him as the music faded and an uneasy hush fell over the ballroom. Ethan drew a deep breath, his hands steady now. Slowly, he began wiping the dirt from his face, revealing the sharp, unmistakable features of the man behind the disguise. Gasps rippled through the room as realization dawned. The homeless man was none other than Ethan Caldwell, the Billionaire CEO. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ethan began, his voice clear and commanding, "thank you for your attention. What you've just witnessed wasn't an accident or a mistake. It was a test, a deliberate attempt to see the true character of the people in this room." He turned to Daniel, his expression softening. "Daniel Hayes, your actions tonight were more than just kind gestures. They revealed the essence of who you are as a person. When faced with someone in need, you didn't hesitate. You stepped up with empathy, compassion, and leadership, the kind of leadership this company truly needs." Daniel's eyes widened, his mouth opening slightly in shock. "Mr. Caldwell, I had no idea." Ethan smiled warmly. "You didn't need to know. True kindness doesn't seek recognition or reward, and that's why, effective immediately, I am appointing you as the new manager of Caldwell Enterprises." The room erupted into applause, though some faces showed guilt and discomfort. Ethan then turned his attention to Alex, who stood frozen near the bar, his confidence visibly shaken. "Alex Mercer," Ethan said, his tone now sharp and firm, "your actions tonight were deeply disappointing. You had a chance to show compassion, to lead with humanity, but instead you chose arrogance and cruelty. Leadership isn't just about making tough decisions or achieving results. It's about valuing people, even those who have nothing to offer you in return." Alex's shoulders slumped, his face pale as the weight of his failure sank in. He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. His shame was evident, and the realization of what he had lost, both the promotion and the respect of his peers, was unmistakable. Ethan turned back to the crowd, his voice rising with conviction. Tonight was a reminder that success isn't just about profits or accomplishments. It's about the impact we have on others. Kindness costs nothing, but its value is immeasurable. Let this be a lesson to all of us. The applause grew louder, filling the room with energy, but for Alex, it was deafening. Quietly, he slipped out of the ballroom, his thoughts consumed by regret and missed opportunities. As the applause subsided, Ethan stepped forward again, his presence commanding the room. "Daniel Hayes," he said with pride, "you've shown us all what it truly means to lead with heart. Congratulations, you are the new manager of Caldwell Enterprises." The crowd erupted into cheers once more, but Ethan raised a hand, signaling for silence. "Tonight," he continued, his voice steady and sincere, "we've been reminded of a simple yet profound truth. Leadership is not about power, prestige, or titles. It's about empathy, kindness, and the courage to do what's right, even when no one is watching. He paused, his gaze sweeping the room. Every person you meet is fighting a battle you may know nothing about. A little kindness can change someone's world. Treat others with dignity, not because of who they are, but because of who you are. The room grew still, the weight of his words sinking into every heart. Thank you for being part of this journey, Ethan concluded, his voice softening. If this story moved you, let it inspire you to carry this lesson forward. Together, we can create a world where kindness is not the exception, it's the rule. With that, the party resumed, but the night's lesson lingered, a powerful, lasting reminder of how one act of compassion can ripple outward and create lasting change.